Inclusive design is defined by the British Standards Agency as being the design of mainstream products and services that are accessible to and usable by the broadest possible range of people. So that means designing things for people that have different physical needs, but also different neurodiverse conditions and a range of other things that have been kind of set out by that. It grew out of the 1970s accessibility movement that was sort of very much web-based. But actually, over time, it's grown to include a lot more things. So it's not just about accessibility. So it might have come out of that movement, but actually, inclusive design has grown into a mindset and a process that suggests that you should bring as many people as possible and the most diverse range of voices that you can into your product design process so that you're being truly inclusive and you're designing with people rather than just at them. One of the things we think about with inclusive design is that people are coming to your products and services with different identities, and there's different reasons why people might be excluded. When we're thinking about it, we generally think about different physical needs, mental well-being, race, gender, sexual orientation, age, religion. There's like a massive list of things. But nobody's ever just one of those things. So people come to your product and service bringing the intersections of those identities, and we need to design for people as they come. They're not just black or they're not just female. They are a mix of things, and also that's contextual. So the things that they are feeling are different in different situations. One of the things inclusive design tries to do is to design for the more extreme ends of those spectrums, because if you do that, then you end up designing better products and services for everybody. To give you an example, for somebody who has extreme anxiety, any kind of digital online task can be quite stressful because there's often a lot of ambiguity, and that can increase anxiety. There's also, we see lots of slightly dark patterns around time pressure or scarcity. So when you're trying to complete something, there might be the illusion that there's only one room left on this website. One of the things that you can do to reduce that anxiety is reduce ambiguity and design out those dark patterns. If you do that though, that also improves the experience for everybody else, because if you've ever booked an expensive holiday online, the process of going through that, making sure that you've got everything right, understanding where you are in the process and at what point there is a point of no return, all of those things make that experience better for everybody, not just for people that have that extreme anxiety disorder. So when we're thinking about inclusive design, I said at the beginning that it was about more than accessibility, but we've got 5 key lenses that we think about it through. So they are physical needs, mental well-being, neurodiversity, design for belonging, and customer vulnerability. And I'm going to go through and talk a little bit about each of those. Physical needs we've touched on a little bit, and this is the one that most people think of when they think about inclusive design. And I think the best example of this is, are you designing your products and services so that people with physical needs and potentially using assisted tech can actually enjoy that experience, or are you just ticking the accessibility boxes and making sure that it passes? So it is possible to design experiences in a way that they're still enjoyable to use, whether you're using a keyboard or a screen reader or whatever technology people are using to help them. The second one, mental well-being. Again, I've touched on this a little bit. I think the key thing here is to reduce ambiguity, think about how you can alleviate the cognitive load of what it is that you're presenting so that people can process the information as easily as possible. The third one is neurodiversity. This one's super interesting because there's such a broad range of different neurodiverse conditions and all brains are different. An easy thing to consider is things like animation. We all love a bit of animation. It creates a really nice experience. But actually, for people with some neurodiverse conditions, animation can be so distracting, it makes it almost impossible for them to complete the task that they've got at hand. Number 4, designing for belonging. So this is a really big one, and it's also probably the fuzziest. How do you design products and services that people feel like they belong when they come to them? There's a lot of different things that play into that. One of them is representation. So how are you thinking about your imagery, your iconography? What are you showing that can make people feel like they really belong there? Another thing is language. So the language that we choose to use, the information that we request, all of those kind of things, they all add up to being that sense of belonging, or actually the sense of exclusion if you get any of those things wrong. The fifth one is customer vulnerability, and that's really about thinking about the context of your customer and the baggage that they're bringing with you when they come to your product or service. So, as an example, most people, when they are logging into their banking app, they're there to check something, they're there to see that a transaction has gone through or what their balance is. A lot of the time they're worrying about have they got enough money to pay that bill or to get through to the end of the month. So they're coming to your experience in a slight sense of heightened stress. And being aware of that and designing for that means that we can make things much easier for people, reduce that stress, and generally design a far more inclusive experience.